In the headlines, Supreme Court upholds President's power to declare emergency rule, suspend elected officials. Kano community in shock after Muazzin killed, suspect lynched by mob. Nigeria's headline inflation drops to 14.45% in November. And on the foreign scene, at least 37 people killed in flash floods in Morocco. Hello, good evening, and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. The Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional powers of the president to declare a state of emergency in any state to prevent a breakdown of law and order or a descent into chaos. In a split 6-1 decision, the Apex Court ruled that the president may, during a state of emergency, suspend elected officials, provided such suspension is for a limited period. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Muhammad Idris held that Section 305 of the Constitution empowers the president to deploy extraordinary measures to restore normalcy, noting that the section does not specify the nature of such measures, thereby granting the president discretionary powers. The ruling followed a suit filed by Adamawa State and 10 other PDP-led states challenging the emergency rule declared by President Bola Tinubu in Rivers State, during which Governor Siminalayi Fubara and other elected officials were suspended for 6 months. While the court struck out the suit for lack of jurisdiction and dismissed it on the merits, Justice Obande Ogbunya dissented, ruling that the president cannot suspend elected state officials under emergency powers. Now, a Federal Capital Territory High Court in Gwarimpa, Abuja, has fixed December 18 to rule on the bill application of former Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, over alleged corruption. Justice Mariam Hassan ordered that Ngige be remanded at the Kuje Correctional Center pending the ruling after hearing arguments for and against his bill application on Monday. Counsel to the former minister, Patrick Igueto SAN, urged the court to grant bail on health grounds, arguing that Ngige is not a flight risk and would not interfere with witnesses. However, counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Silvanus Tahir, opposed the application, insisting that Ngige was a flight risk. He told the court that the former minister was previously granted administrative bail and allowed to travel abroad for medical treatment, but failed to report back, adding that his passport had not been returned. Justice Hassan adjourned the matter to December 18th for ruling. Ngige was arraigned last Friday on an 8-count charge bordering on alleged corruption practices. Now, residents of Hotoro Marafa in Kano Metropolis are in shock following the killing of a Muazzin in the early hours of Monday. Residents allege that the attack was carried out by a man said to be a Chadian national living in the community. The suspect was later apprehended and lynched by an angry mob. The incident heightened tension in the neighborhood, prompting swift police intervention to restore calm. Abdulaziz Ibrahim has more.
Residents of Marapa quarters in Kano are still reeling from the killing of the Muazzin of Yusuf Garko Mosque. 70-year-old Zubair Qasim Muhammad, one of his 9 children, recounts how the family received the devastating news.
Muna zuwa sai nake jin labari wai wani ne a cikin unguwa wanda ake tunanin sun zo ne daga Chadi.
When I arrived, I was told that a man living in this area, reportedly a Chadian who moved here with his family, entered the mosque and attacked my father, leading to his death. Eyewitnesses say the suspect fled the scene but was immediately pursued by residents and later lynched. After he ran away, people chased him. He lives nearby. We were told he also attempted to attack another person before he was caught. One resident who narrowly escaped further harm but sustained an injury spoke anonymously about his ordeal. The noise woke me up. He ran into our compound and forced his way into my room. I was injured before people rushed in and overpowered him. Police investigators later confirmed that key items were recovered from the suspect. The situation escalated further when parts of the suspect's residence were set ablaze, resulting in property damage. He lived here with his family. Some people attacked the house and set part of it on fire before security efforts calmed the situation. Barapa quarters remains tense as residents mourn the death of the Muazzin. Meanwhile, the Kano State Police Command has deployed security personnel to the area to maintain order and restore normalcy. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
Now, troops of the Operation Mesa, comprising personnel of 3 Brigade Nigerian Army in conjunction with the Nigerian Air Force and Nigerian Police, have successfully rescued 3 out of the 5 persons earlier abducted at Ilakwaya village of Gwarzo local government area of Kano State. Trust TV reported that unknown gunmen suspected to be bandits launched a fresh attack on Lakwaya town in Gwarzo local government area of Kano State, abducting 5 residents. The incident, according to local sources, occurred on Sunday night, throwing the community into fear and tension. The village head of Zurin Mahauta, Murtala Ungua, said the attackers stormed the area under the cover of darkness and took the victims away to an unknown destination. Reacting, Captain Babatunde Zubairu, an Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 3 Brigade Nigerian Army, said 3 persons have so far been rescued. Captain Zubairu had earlier assured that the troops are doing their best to return the victims safely. And the prolonged insecurity in Katsina State has taken a new turn following the alleged imposition of a 50 million naira levy on residents of Ergoje village head area in Kankara local government area. Bandits Kingpin Babaro, who operates across Kankara, Bakori and parts of Malumfashi local government areas, is accused of enforcing the levy despite the Kakumi peace deal signed months ago. Reports indicate that residents are raising the money through their traditional leaders to meet the bandits' demands. Although state authorities are unhappy with the development, locals who spoke to Trust TV on condition of anonymity said they prefer paying the levy to secure peace rather than relying on what they described as unrealistic government protection. Residents also described the Kakumi Peace Accord as ineffective, blaming the Kankara Local Government Security Committee, led by Council Chairman Kasim Oho, for its failure. Sources say attacks involving killings, displacement, cattle rustling and abductions occur almost daily, with Zangwen and Sabo in western Kankara among the worst hit areas. Despite the deployment of military personnel, residents continue to experience pockets of attacks and are now calling for improved stakeholder engagement to restore peace. The federal government has been urged to invest more in the nation's security infrastructure to ensure that Nigeria's data security is fully guaranteed. Speaking on Trust TV's Current Affairs program, 30 Minutes with Manir Dang Ali, a digital system security expert, Yusuf Salisu Funtua, noted that with such investment, Nigeria would no longer need to rely on services from outside countries to manage any of its operations. Funtua, who was speaking on the backdrop of the recent concerns expressed by Nigerians following the Memorandum of Understanding signed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service and a French organization, noted that Nigeria has the needed resources and talent to achieve digital sovereignty. He noted that Nigeria should have necessary laws, systems and processes in place that would enable it enter into agreement on digital security from a position of control.
There is a particular organization that is signing an MOU with Nigeria's FIRS, and that people feel will have direct access and control over the Nigerian tax data. Now, you cannot find Nigeria's tax data on Facebook, TikTok, or Twitter. And those are, companies that globalized the world and everyone is interacting, and it sort of made the world a global village. So that is the distinction. So what we are talking about here is, working with an organization that is hosted by a country that has, allegedly some track record, this discouraging track records in other countries, that will have access to a very sensitive data. And that is one of the reasons why some people are asking for the data protection law to categorically state which class of data, what are the regulations on the type and class of data that is being shared with other people that are working and partnering with Nigeria.
Now, as Nigeria prepares to implement the Nigeria Tax Act 2025 to boost revenue generation, attention is shifting beyond taxation to the management of public funds. Amid growing advocacy around the new tax law, stakeholders are raising concerns that fiscal discipline and accountability are receiving far less attention. They are questioning how increased revenue from the new tax regime will be managed and whether the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 is still being effectively enforced. Trust TV's Noel Sampson has more.
One of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Dr. Muhammad Shehu, says the Nigeria Tax Act 2025 represents a significant step towards fiscal efficiency, revenue growth, and economic stability. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, he explained that the act, which takes effect in January 2026, harmonizes Nigerians' tax laws, reduces compliance burdens, and supports ease of doing business. Dr. Shehu highlighted improving economic indicators, rising inflows into the federal account driven by fiscal reforms, and a gradual reduction in reliance on oil revenues. He reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to transparency, accountability, and collaboration with stakeholders to strengthen Nigeria's revenue system and ensure long-term fiscal sustainability.
When you enhance fiscal efficiency in terms of efficiently collecting the taxes that are supposed to collect, not to have multiplicity of taxation where you are unable to collect those tax systems. Now with an efficient system, technology, digital e-invoicing and other things, you are going to concentrate in making the collection efficiently, and then more money will come into the system.
With increasing emphasis on digital collection, automation and transparency, the bank's policies that advance financial inclusion, reduce cash dominance, and expand secure electronic payment channels help enlarge the tax net and improve the integrity of revenue remittances.
Despite government assurance, concerns persist over the new tax reforms scheduled to begin in January 2026. Many Nigerians fear rising living costs, widespread information, and uncertainty over implementation. Rumors about fuel taxes, bank accounts, and tax identification number requirements have further heightened anxiety. Businesses and investors are also worried about possible compliance costs and market impacts. However, authorities insist that most low-income earners will not face increased tax burdens and that clearer implementation guidelines will address public concerns. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Professor Taiwo Idili, addressed these fears by explaining the rationale behind the reforms, outlining key changes and clarifying partnership between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and France.
The major objectives of the reforms are fairness, to promote fairness, to drive harmonization and efficiency, ease of doing business, enhance transparency for how we use tax monies, and overall to promote economic development.
As Nigeria moves into a new tax era, stakeholders insist that without strict enforcement of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, increased revenue alone will not translate into improved governance or economic stability. Well, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
This is news update on Trust TV coming up after the break. Stakeholders advocate for training of police judges to improve juvenile justice system. This and many more when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just joining, this is News Update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We told you that Supreme Court upholds President's power to declare emergency rule, suspend elected officials. And Kano community in shock after Muazzin killed, suspect lynched by mob. Moving on to more stories, funding, training of police, judges and social workers on child rights and new guidelines will bridge the gap and improve the juvenile justice system reform in Nigeria. Stakeholders and civil society groups are advocating for the protection of the child rights and welfare. Juvenile remand homes, which are overpopulated and often poorly equipped, will mostly worsen the condition of the juvenile in conflict with the law. Trust TV's Bello Musa has more.
Nigeria's juvenile justice system, guided by the Child Rights Act 2003, aims to rehabilitate young offenders under 18 through specialized juvenile courts, focusing on welfare over punishment, using institutions like remand homes and Boston centers for education and vocational training. However, due to many gaps, stakeholders say the juvenile system needs to be reformed for effective management of the young offenders.
The current system or the current model we are running is more of a punitive. It focuses more on punishments, punishing them, while I think what is more needed is a vocational training model where we are not, or the law is not just punishing the juvenile, but they are also giving them something to hold on. Because if you look at it, you'll come to realize that most of the crimes happening, or most of the reason why these children are engaging in crime or criminal activities, poverty or unemployment is one of them.
According to them, rather than being schools of reform, they tend to become pipelines for more criminal behavior. They noted the widespread youth unemployment and public distrust in the police makes the juvenile justice system necessary for overhauling.
Maybe you have just made a little crime and then you get taken to the juvenile. So when you are while there, they tend to mix up with other criminals that have done like big offenses, criminal offenses, and it's like shapes them instead of shaping them to become good people. It shapes them into becoming worse.
Going to the remand homes sometimes used to change some of these children into full-time or career criminals, and that is exactly not what we want. We want a reform. We want a transformation.
Stakeholders noted that insufficient funding hindering effective rehabilitation, data collection, and integration of services.
Funding is very, very important, because when the government see reasons of putting more funds in the security aspect, specifically in the police aspect, in handling such cases.
Some international standards, child protection standard laws, such as the United Nations Convention of Rights of the Child, which requires to treat these children with fairness, dignity, and care. So many countries have taken these laws into consideration.
Beyond the juvenile home, experts call for community participation to improve the system.
Having is how to put these laws into practice, because any decision that is made by any judge, if care is not taken, this decision may affect the children directly or indirectly. It may affect their futures. So we need these trainings to be able to bridge the gaps between the written policies and real life actions.
First, importantly, we need government partnership and also the forces. We need to have forces that are trained specially to be taking care of these children, because you can't just have a police officer that is dealing with an adult prison to also deal with juvenile. The mental capacity they have is different.
Nigerians' juvenile justice reform focuses on shifting from punitive incarceration to child-centered rehabilitation, driven by the Child Rights Act 2003, in line with international standards. Bello Musa, Trust TV News Kaduna.
The Northeastern University NEU has matriculated over 400 newly admitted students for the current academic session, while also announcing the provision of free cooking gas within the campus to support student welfare. The matriculation ceremony held at the university campus marked the formal admission of the students into academic life, drawing parents, traditional rulers, community leaders, and education stakeholders from across the state. Hassan Lawan Koli has more.
While congratulating the new students, the university management charged them to challenge themselves academically and morally and build beneficial friendships that will contribute to their success on campus. The management also highlighted the university's welfare initiatives, including the provision of free cooking gas on campus, describing it as part of effort to create a conducive learning environment for students.
All the students will have access to cooking gas that is very safe and with which they can cook their meals in the university. And I want to announce that the cooking gas we are going to be giving the students will be free, completely free of charge.
In his remarks, Mohammed Shetima, who represented the Gombe State Governor, commended the university for its commitment to quality education and student welfare, urging the matriculating students to remain disciplined and focused in their pursuit of knowledge.
I commend this institution for fostering academic excellence and promoting innovation. I wish all students a fruitful academic journey and continual success.
Addressing parents and guardians, the Vice-Chancellor of the university assured them that NUE is committed to providing the best academic and moral training for their children. He cautioned the students against feeling of superiority and warned them to strictly adhere to the university's rules and regulations.
Every year, I give my children one message that is peculiar to them. If you take all my speeches for the 4 years, they are not the same. This year's message is that they should be able to control their anger because it's just one letter away from danger. Once you are not able to control your anger, you get it off and you enter danger. That was my message to them. Now, advantages they have is more enormous than the previous one. Not only that we have China Association, the memorandum we had, that is prepared to give 10 best graduating students scholarship over there. We have the Anas R. Miao $300 prize for the best students in mass comm. So, you know, when you enter a university, if those in your front, you are not seeing anything they are doing, you may not really be inspired. But now, we have several things to showcase for those before them.
The event was attended by community and traditional leaders, parents and educationists as the university reaffirmed its commitment to academic excellence and student welfare. Hassan Lawan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
And now in business, Nigeria's headline inflation has dropped to 14.45% in the month of November, according to a report by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). A report said the figure reduced from the October 2025 headline inflation rate of 16.05%. It said the November 2025 headline inflation rate showed a decrease of 1.6% compared to the October 2025 headline inflation rate. Away from Nigeria, at least 37 people have been killed in flash floods triggered by torrential rains in Morocco's Atlantic coastal province of Safi, Moroccan authorities said on Monday. 14 people were still receiving medical care, including 2 who were in intensive care, they said in a statement. Heavy rain on Sunday flooded homes and shops in the old town of the port city of Safi, swept away cars and caught many roads in and around the city about 300 kilometers south of the Moroccan capital, Rabat. And that's a wrap on news updates. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Thank you for watching.